a few, what I think are historically significant instruments, not to pat ourselves on the back or anything in any way, but I'm just trying to be sort of subjective in saying that I think we might have created some instruments such as this Desert Eagle, which is based on the kamikaze model. It's really the same thing with a different graphic. That sort of blends, that space between a Strat and a Paul and everything else. I mean, those are iconic guitars, but for the era of guitar players that I come out of, and that people are kind of searching for tools to be able to function in that space. I think this style of guitar, as well as Charbel and other guitars in that space, fulfill a need. So I feel that we performed a function that really services the guitar players of that era that really want to pull that off. So. And that's a certain kind of neck profile, that's a certain kind of pickup configuration, hardware configuration, as well as graphics, which are less important, anyways. So having said that, I wanted to thank you all for showing up here today. This is labeled as a clinic. When I think of a clinic, technically I think of a guitar lesson for a crowd, which is very hard to do because I'm sure none of you brought your guitars with you. And we're not going to play along and play the pentatonic scale or the Lixomidian scale or whatever the hell it's called. That's not a real scale. I just made that up. So, what do you guys want to do? What do you? I mean, I'm huh? What? Bullshit. Okay. Well, you'll see a lot of that. I guarantee you. You're going to get your money's worth. How much you pay to be here? Nothing. Okay, you're going to get your money's worth. Where's the? You know what I just realized? Where's the band? What? That was part of the deal, dude. No band? When did we find that out? Right now? Well, that's not cool. Well, that's usually the funnest part of these things is when I get to interact with, one of you guys. We have somebody in the crowd, local or whatever, and they're playing a band here in town, and we get up and we jam, and that's really the highlight, both for me and for the audience and for the guys playing. So I'm really, I wish that could happen. That can't happen? I mean, you have a music store. I see a drum set over here. I see a bass over there. Can that happen? Powers that be say no. So it's a, what? No? Okay, so no band. So what do we do? Just do clinic track or the backing tracks thing? Okay. All right, here we go. Back. I'm just, I have all this music because I've done a whole bunch of records, in like all the years that I've been doing this, and a lot of times I try to save, like, we do the record, and I try to save the mix. I get to, this doesn't happen all the time, but I'll say, hey, can you just do a mix of that, but mute the vocals and mute the guitar solo. So I just have basically the drums and bass and rhythm guitar, and that's really fun to play over, right? So I don't always remember to do that, but once in a while I do, so about half the time. So I've got this so after decades of doing that, I have this collection of stuff that, I've recorded that I've saved that I've been able to kind of self-accompany. Unfortunately, some of it, say it again. Copy? Actually, you know what, that would be a good thing to offer people, would be a backing tracks. Listen, I have no problem with that, but here's the problem. So if I record an album and I make a record deal with so-and-so, they own that master. I don't know what that means in relation to what would become the backing tracks, meaning that same record but without the vocals and guitar. I don't know technically, legally what that means. So Well, I mean, it's kind of public, so I would have to run it by the label and see what they think. Huh? No, 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 no. But I think that would be a thing that people would like. Guitar players would love that. I mean, not just for me, but for other bands and other guitar players to put out there and say, okay, here's a, like Joe Satriani, play along to my songs, without me playing along with it. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna write that down. The last thing I played was a thing called Slow Drag off of a Lynch record. I can't remember the name of the album, but I think it was an EP actually. So this is another thing. Hopefully it's in the right key. I have no idea. But you guys understand. That's all that matters. Yeah, man, that was a record I did with Oni Logan and Lynch back in the day. Yeah, that was cool. A little song called Sucker. Oni, he had a way with words. The badass. All right. I don't know what else you guys like. Whatever. How about this? You like cake, Sam? Yeah, man. Yeah. Music is just a deep, mysterious, wonderful thing that I think makes life worth living. You know what I mean? Because and we'll never figure it out with math or logic, and I love that. That it remains a mysterious thing and unknowable. Yeah. So when we're experiencing it or creating it, we're just in the moment, whether we like it or not. So it transcends time and space, and that makes life beautiful. So, yeah. I'm very thankful that I was blessed with the ability to do this, because I don't know where it comes from, and I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm really just channeling, and I'm not I'm not a person that is a very spiritual person or anything like that, but I believe if there's anything spiritual, music is the closest thing to true spirituality that there is, you know what I mean? I just wish I was better at it, so I could honor it more, but, I don't know. No, but I don't know music theory and things like that, the technical side of it, which is good and bad because I don't know the rules so I can break them, but I also don't know the rules, so I don't have any guidelines. So every time I pick up the guitar, to me, it's sort of stressful because I don't know what's going to happen and I don't know what to do, because I don't have anything to go on, I don't have a blueprint.
Hey, George.
Yeah, man.
Do you have any musicians in your family growing up?
No musicians in my family. No lessons. I don't know theory. I don't know scales. I don't know chords. But I make up shit in my own brain. So, I don't know. I just make up stuff. And it's just intervals because, really, if you look at physics, from molecular physics, quantum physics, all the way to the larger things, and so forth, really everything is just intervals. It's all space, whether it's frequencies or math, space and time. It's just intervals. So music's the same way. So I look at everything in terms of that, just naturally, just organically. It's just, for instance, I don't know. This is booked as a clinic. It's supposed to be a guitar lesson, but I don't really think you guys want a guitar lesson. But from a guy who doesn't know anything about guitar. For instance, that is an example. I mean, it's a kind of an unusable example, but it's just to me, I'm just going, okay, half step, whole step, half step per string. 2-string pairs move up by octaves, 3 octaves. So if I start in A, I do it kind of like a diminished thing, so I start in A flat. So it'd be the 4 on the 5th fret of the E string. And the thing is, with anything like that that's a little kind of outside the box, you just kind of want to end up in the tonic, end up at your root note, so that you're establishing your relevancy. You know what I'm saying? Because that could, you could take that or any scale or mode to and apply it to almost any key. But the key is what makes it relevant, for the ear, so the person can go, oh, I see what he's relating to. Yeah, so in that case, that would be an A. Yeah, so there's so many elements that go into your tool bag, you know what I'm saying, like when you're a player. So the way I've kind of always thought of it is, there's all kinds of things. So just add every element you can. Speed, fluidity, flow, tricks, heavy, light, be dynamic. But ultimately, above all things, just express what your heart is feeling, you know what I mean? I tend to play more from the heart than the head because I'm not that smart and I don't have, as I said, the technical, theoretical knowledge to do that. So I rely on my strength, which is just playing from the heart, whatever that means, that I wouldn't suggest that to anybody coming up and learning guitar or trying to, acquire some knowledge right now from a guy that has some, like myself, who has a little bit of a name. I was just like, I would not suggest anybody do what I've done because there's the chance that I would have ever be sitting here in front of you right now making a living playing guitar instead of working in the mines or in a warehouse or driving a truck is infinitesimal because really, I'm not really a very good guitar player. I've just been, no, I'm not. I'm a very good salesman. So I came from a salesman family. And salesman, basically you're selling yourself. It's a psychological game. I don't really know what the hell I'm doing. I'm just faking it. But I've managed to fool you fuckers for fucking 50 years and you're still buying it. I mean, that's been unbelievable. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Oh, we can play some more songs. So normally we have a band here. That's really, I'm sad about that. That's the funnest thing.
Hey, Joe. Yes, sir. What'd your parents do for a living when you were growing up?
We did, what?
What did your parents do for a living when you were growing up?
Salesman.
Really?
Yeah, I grew up as a salesman. I sold everything. I sold door to door
Have you liked your parents?
in the 60s.
Your parents too?
My father was a salesman. Yeah, he got. That's why I had to be a salesman. Vacuum cleaners.
Really? What kind of bullshit?
You name it, dude. I sold everything.
You're bullshit.
I know. I'm not bullshitting. I love. In fact, my father's shop. Well, finally, when he got off the road and he got a vacuum store, Lynch's sew and vac. I worked there. Yeah, I repaired vacuum cleaners. Encyclopedias. Yeah, that Britannic. What was it? Encyclopedia Britannica. I didn't. I think I might have sold. Did I sell those? That was a hard living, man. Door to door, lugging that shit around all day. Yeah, I'd be 5 days a week, 8 to 5. I had this one. So it would be a crew of us, right? And we'd meet every morning. And then they'd take us around and drop you off with your vacuum cleaner and your shampoo polish or your I was Electrolux at the time.
How old were you at this time?
I think 16. So we'd be out there all day. You have a sack lunch, and then you have a rendezvous point. They pick you up at 5, and hopefully you'd get some sales. But I remember this one house that dropped me off in Downey, California, and I canvassed the whole neighborhood and everything like that. And I knocked on this door, and it was the fucking Carpenter's house. Karen Carpenter. And she was playing drums in the living room while I was talking to the mom and trying to sell her a vacuum cleaner. But she had this double bass, silver glitter, like Ludwig kit with her name on it. She was killing. She was a great drummer. Amazing drummer, yeah. And I was like, wow. And I was thinking back in my head, it was like, I'd really like to have a band with her. But, where they were going to look at me and go, oh, yeah, we're going to play with you, the vacuum cleaner salesman with a short-haired wig on. Yeah. So that didn't happen. But then years later, I had the whole Aussie thing happen, and then I didn't get the Aussie gig, and my wife and I were driving home, and I was crying. I was 73, Pinto station wagon. We're driving back to our apartment in Anaheim, and we'd been evicted from because I didn't have any money, and Aussie didn't pay me, and I quit my job to do it. And then as we're just pulling up to the apartment, there's a mortuary across the street. They were having a wake or a funeral of some sort, and we thought, well, we didn't have any money, so we didn't have money to go to the movies and stuff. So we thought, well, we'll go to the funeral. We'll just sneak in. And we did, and we got in line for the wake, which is an open casket thing. And it was Karen Carpenter. Yeah, she's lying in state, and they were playing all her best drum solos on this music thing, and had her drumsticks crossed in front of her. And I tried to sell her that bitch a vacuum cleaner, and she fucking, she's not a bitch, she was great. All right. That was a cool story, right? Yeah, come on, dude, fuck, come on. True story. How would you make that up? How would you make that up?
I don't know.
I am a very Yeah, I can't believe I got through that.
Hey, Joe, so if you don't know what you're
Dude, your question quota is way exceeded, dude. There's 4,000 people here, and you're the only person asking questions.
take that mouse,
Leave rooms for the other guy. Well, no, you're just winning by proximity because you're very close to me. But what was your question, sir? Sorry about this guy. Huh? Sure.
I was just going to ask you, you said you got no lessons, no training. Who are your influences? Like,
Oh my God. That's the question I dread the most when I come to this thing. Who were your where do you get your ideas? Come on, you can do better than that. Come on. Don't ask me about Don Dawkins' wig. That's the name of my next solo record. Okay, go ahead. Come on. Of course. But think outside the box. Ask me a good question. Keep me on my toes. Well, I love Brad Pitt. Oh, yeah. Listen, I love everybody. Every guy that's great. I mean, all of them. And there's another one. Luke is there. I mean, come on, everyone. I mean, the list is a mile long. Right. Oh. Well, see, then there's those guys, right? The Aston Pittmans of the world that facilitate what we do and build the tools to help translate what's happening up here and here and here into reality. What you're hearing in that whole cycle, thing that thing that we share, and that's so essential. So Aspen, tube builder and many other things, died tragically. Pulling a trailer going up a mountain road very close to our home, which really hit close to home for me. Say it again? No, up at Santa Clarita, California. I mean, we live now in Taos, New Mexico, but we also have our home in Southern California, in Santa Clarita, and he was going up. I can't remember the name of the road; it escapes me at the moment. But there's 3 roads that go up through the mountains, back up into the high desert, and he was taking one of those with pulling a trailer, and I guess he jackknifed around a curve and got. I don't know how that killed him, but it did. What a crazy thing, man! I was just like, and the guy, he's just like a huge, big, tough guy. You think this guy's indestructible. Nothing could kill Aspen Pittman. Something did. So, I mean, if Aspen Pittman died, I mean, what about the rest of us? Us little weaklings. God damn. All right, whatever. But you know what? He made part of what he did was a little bit of a scam, the tube matching pairing thing. But, I'd go to his shop and hang out with him, and I would get new old stock stuff that was very, really got you there, This was back in the day, when I was, docking tours, I was changing out my tubes every show, which is ridiculous and stupid and a waste of money, but I was just, just a little over the top. But yeah, I was putting in new old stock Telefunkens and Siemens and all these great old vintage quad sets of tubes into my 100 watts and every night. Yeah. Who, what? Oh, yeah, that 800 that I rented from SAR that was Slash's. He used it on Appetite, and I used it for whatever, docking record. Yeah, and we both tried to get it, and it just went missing. Yeah. A second album? It did. It didn't.
I just recall back in 2012, you were on XM radio. Maybe with Eddie Trump, I remember.
TNN. I think it became. Oh, I think Jeff Pilson and I started doing N Machine after that. Which was why do TNN and N Machine? Maybe that's what it is. I'm just guessing what my thinking was. Our thinking. Yeah, I mean, we and Jeff to get together, no matter what you call it, still the same record. It's just me and Jeff. Yeah. Yeah. And we love working together, and we just, magic happens, lightning strikes when we're sitting there, and we just get off on it so much, and we just joke around. We have such a great time, and it's creatively just like an avalanche, so it's just so cool. So, and he has a studio close to my California house. We're basically down the street from each other, and so, we do as many projects as we can together, just because it's so fun. So we've got another End Machine record coming up that we're contracted to do when we find time, at the end of this year or next year, and also a Heavy Hitters album. So we did the fourth End Machine and the third Heavy Hitters record. We got those two in the pipeline that we need to work on. And, I'm always in the studio. I love being in the studio. I love creating. I love playing on other people's music, so I get hired to do, like, a lot of outside projects for other labels or even private parties, will hire me and things like that. So I go in and, and I just track over other people's music, and I find that I do all my best work when I'm playing on other people's music, not my own music. So everything I've recorded with, Lynch Mob or, all my other projects, Doc and whatever, other 10 projects I got going on, whatever kicks in, it's never, it's like, okay, it's good, I guess, but it's never as good as the stuff I do for other people that doesn't have my name on it. And I don't know why that is. I think it's because I'm sort of detached from it, or something. There's something psychological going on there. But nobody ever hears that stuff, So I got to kind of figure that out. I'm not sure why that happens. But I've done 3 projects recently. Just before I came out here, I was at home in Taos, and I was working in a studio, which is Dennis Hopper's old home. This is 400-year-old adobe building. It's an old El Cortez Theater. And it's just a magical place, got all its history and everything. So I'm working in there, and I've got 3 independent projects. And 2 of them are rock, of course. Most people hire me to do rock stuff. And the third song that Cleopatra Records sent me was it was like this hip-hop thing. And I don't know much about hip-hop artists, but my youngest son, was staying out with us, and I go, hey, you ever heard this Gunplay? And he goes, oh, yeah, he knew about it. It's like this underground thing. The guy's been he's in prison, shot a bunch of people, so that made him cool. And give him credit. But it was a very cool groove. And I go, this is the shit. God dang, I want to play. Because sometimes I hear that kind of music, and I'm always kind of like, God dang, I could hear myself playing over that in a way that I think people would dig, but I've never really been given the opportunity to do it. So I was this time, and I just went crazy, and I read into the song and created all these riffs and other just kind of, ear candy stuff and sinister stuff. It was just, I don't know. I hope somebody gets to hear it someday. It was really, really cool. I had so much fun with it. I told the label, I go, dude, just send me that stuff. I'll do it for free all day long. Just keep sending me that shit. Because the groove is so great and infectious, and I was able to put my, evil kind of shit on it, It was so cool. But whatever. Because a lot of times when you hear that stuff, they go, oh, we'll get a metal guitar player to play on here. And it's just kind of this synthetic, not soulful kind of metal, And it's like, that doesn't work. It's got to have a little grease on it, And I've never heard anybody do that, so I try to do that. So anyways, that's my inside thinking on that. None of that matters. Anyways, what else is going on?
On that note,
Huh?
how did you come across Tony McAlpine doing
Oh, Tears of Sahara, Tony McAlpine. We shared a manager, and my manager called me, who's this all-powerful, like the Wizard of Oz guy that controls the universe. And so you never say no, right? He tells you what to do, and he says jump, and you say how high. So he said, you're playing on this record? I go, okay, how much am I getting? Nothing. Just do it. Shut the fuck up and get up there. And I did it. And there was 2 tracks, and one of them was kind of like, didn't come out that great. The other one was pretty magical. Yeah. But, yeah, that's another example of me playing better on other people's music than my own. Yes, sir.
George, on that same kind of note, how was it like to play with Ethan Brosh?
I like how you guys are bringing up my experience with all these guitar players that are way better than me. Did you get to meet Ethan? What's he like? I mean, how does he get to be so awesome, unlike yourself? No, I mean, of course, he's amazing, dude. I mean, rub it in. Got any other great guitar players you want to bring up? Make me feel worse about myself? You're a bad human being. Huh? Yeah, I did. I taught at his school because I didn't get the Aussie gig, and he did. So he called me up, and he goes, I got good news and bad news. I got the Aussie gig, you didn't. That's the bad news. The good news is you got my teaching job at Musonia, which is his mom's music school, for $10 an hour. And so I went up there, and Randy's this really kind of good-looking guy and everything, I guess. So he's like got all these girl students that just go there to gaze upon him and not really learn anything. And then when I showed up, I tried to actually teach them guitar, and I'd like twist their hands, and and they all quit. So I lost a lot of business for that school, apparently. And they fired me. I wasn't cute enough. Huh? Name of what? Did he give me the name, Mr. Scary? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't remember. I think I was exhibiting a lot of bad behavior in my younger days. I probably earned that. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. I have kids and grandkids now, so I don't do that anymore. Anyways, anything theoretical anybody wants to know, since I don't know any theory? Like, what's this scale here? Let's see. It's like happy and sad and mean at the same time. So it's in E, that'd be a major third, right? And then the flatted fifth makes the evil part. And then the G over the D. There you go. That's your little guitar lesson right there. Okay. I don't really, honestly, I don't know scales per se. Yeah. Yeah, so everything I do is kind of probably a mix of like a lot of different scales. Like I mix minors and majors up sort of out of habit just because. I'm thinking about it though. I'm not thinking about it. And so you can make every note work. It's just how you place it according to the key that you're in. Because there's only 12 notes, right? And there's a way to make them all work because they're all part of some scale that's relevant to that key, from what I understand, what I've been told. So you can play chromatically, and it works as long as you end up in the right place. You know? Now, giving examples is hard for me because I can never play anything twice because I'm just making it up, and I don't know really what I did. Yeah, that's a comp. That's a comp. Oh, I don't do that. It doesn't matter if I comped a solo or didn't comp a solo, if I played it from one end to the other. It doesn't matter. Because sometimes what will happen is I'll be tracking solos. I'll do 5 solos over a solo section of a song in the studio, and then I'll go, okay, well, that's the closest one. I like that. I like the way that started. I like the way that ended. Now I'll play it, try to play it. Now that I've got, see, because really what that is I'm coming up with ideas. Because I don't pre-think any solos, I just do them on the spot. You know.
What happened was somebody goes, okay, well, we're going to take this one and this one and merge them together.
Yeah, but then you got to learn it and play it. Yeah. But then you also have to go on the road. If you're a famous band and you record an album, and then you have to go on the road, you learn that album because you have what's called rehearsals. In my case, in the last 12 projects I've done over the last 30 years that don't matter, that nobody's listened to, It doesn't warrant going on the road with KXM or Michael Sweet or TNN or whatever all these other dang projects are. So I've never really hardly taken any of them on the road. So we don't go to rehearsals, and so I never learn the songs. So you come up here at a clinic 22 years later and go, hey, how'd you play that lick on that album you put out 22 years ago that you've never played since then? I go, and I've done like 14 records since then. With 10 songs on each record, 12 solos, it's 120 solos. I don't know, dude. I'm old, I'm forgetful, Alzheimer's, everything. Yeah, so I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just telling you the reality of my world, I do lots and lots of records just because I can, because I'm who I am, and people offer me money to do that, and I have been chasing, the work all my life, so you become used to doing that. Yeah. But really, I don't really need to be here today. And my wife gets mad at me for this because she's like, what the fuck are you? You're 70, dude. You're 70. Well, why are you out there beating yourself up, driving 6 hours a day to go to play in some little mom and pop, beautiful, by the way, mom and pop music stores. I love the mom and pops. To play for your guitar playing friends that love you and idolize you. And I go, because of the love and because it's what I was born to do. And you're so used to doing it, it's hard to stop. That's what I noticed about my contemporaries and other old guys like me that are doing this still, like Doug Pennick and like lots of other people. It's hard to let go of what you're used to. It's what defines you. And once you stop, then you just die. What's the point? And I'm not doing it so I don't die. I'm just doing it because I feel it's like a compulsion, to play. And if I'm playing in my little adobe house up in the mountains in northern New Mexico, will anybody hear it? It's like a tree in the forest, So I feel that I still have something to say, because when I play, I feel I'm saying something that matters to people a little bit. So until I don't matter anymore. And that's the greatest fear as you're getting older as a player, I think, and all of us. I see that fear in a lot of the guys that are my age that are, their careers are sort of, they're back into their careers. And the greatest fear, I think, is relevancy. You understand what I mean by that? They're afraid of not being relevant anymore. And no, I'm not speaking of myself in any way. Well, thank you, I appreciate that. But and for a certain group of people, maybe so. But it's not my job to be relevant to and I don't expect to be relevant to a younger generation. It's the younger guy's job to do that. And it's selfish to expect that. You know what I mean? I'm happy with what I have and what I've done. And I've had a lifetime of making a living playing music and supporting a family and raising a family. That is such a rare, rare thing to be able to do. It really is. I mean, you talk about bad Vegas odds. And my father always told me, he goes, you're never going to make a living at this. Have a backup plan. And he was right. But I was lucky. Yeah. Yes, sir.
A lot of young people too that are out there today. It's like, I want to. They sit there and study your albums, your sounds, and it inspires them to be.
Yeah, that's what we do. We build on the shoulders of our predecessors in any discipline, not just music, any art, any science. We build on the shoulders of the knowledge that somebody else has earned, and that's how we advance ourselves, collectively, and that's a beautiful thing. So I appreciate your appreciation. That should be a T-shirt right there. What else? Let me leave you with one more thing. I don't know what to do here. Should I do a doc? Did we do some doc? We did some doc.
Not yet.
No, Gary's doc.
You do a song where it's like flying high.
that's what I showed Randy, and then he took it from there. All right, my friends. Thank you guys for showing up. I'm sorry about not having the band here, but next time for sure. All right. You guys take care of yourselves. All right.